Hello and welcome to the IdeaCast interview series episode number 148, and my guest in this episode is Dr. Tamara Nall, and Dr. Nall has a MBA from Harvard as well as a Doctorate of Engineering in Management and Systems Engineering from the George Washington University. However, in this conversation we don't talk about her engineering and tech prowess, for which we could have many good conversations, but we talk to a project that she started that is more of a project from the heart. And the project's called the Junia Legacy, and we're going to find out about that in this conversation. I very much enjoyed having this conversation with Tamara, and I think what she's doing is pretty cool and pretty important for women. So check it out. Thank you so much for being here. And again, I appreciate Dr. Nall for coming in and having this conversation with me. It was enlightening and inspiring. Thank you. I'd like to welcome Dr. Tamara Nall to the IdeaCast interview series. I'd also like to welcome the YouTube audience and the Spotify audience. Yeah, I'm so glad to have you as a guest, because this is going to be a novel matter that we're talking about, something that you're bringing to our awareness, myself and the audience. So Dr. Nall, welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin. So happy to be here. So very happy for this discussion.
Yes, we had a great pre-meet. And like I said, I've been vibing on it since then. And I think this is something that my audience will connect with. At least I hope some of them will. And it could be the obvious, overstatement here that the women in the audience would find this fascinating, because I think this speaks to something that's whose time has come. So we will unpack things little by little, but I think what we want to do if you're feeling it too, is we'll get started by finding out about you, and then finding about the circumstances in your life that led to the creation of Junia. And I listened to another show, and you were like, I had a selfish moment, and I thought, well, this is, and then there was a Freudian slip, like the hostess, was like selfish, selfless, but it's so perfect because you can be both. You can be selfless and selfish at the same time.
Thank you.
Right? Because it's an act of fulfillment to help others. And anyway, right. I'm on a soapbox already. I'm going to hush up because you're my guest. But yeah, I just want to set that I want to fill the room with that energy. And so I will shush and get you to share your story with us, and then we'll go into Junia and the Legacy Project.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again, Justin, for having me. I have looked forward to this conversation ever since we had our pre-meet. And so I am Dr. Tamara Nall, and I have had a long journey of my professional career and then my entrepreneurship. So I am a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've always loved finding gaps in markets and trying to fill those in some way with products and services and ideas. I'm creative. I read a lot, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. I look at a lot of other industries to try to help the projects and the efforts that I'm working on. And who knew that with Junia, it would be more of a personal gap that I was filling. Mm-hmm. But because before it's always been on the business side. But I, just as a short background, I grew up in primarily Alabama up until the 5th grade, and then moved to Georgia because my father went to school there. He decided to go and enter the ministry and go to school there. And so after I graduated from college, I then moved to New York. I worked for a large management consulting firm for almost a decade, which included 2 years at business school because I also have my MBA, and then was working 20-hour days and decided, you know what? I think I want to go out on my own. And if I fail, I'll just move back home to Atlanta and live with my parents.
Plan B.
And I started my company. Our first project was actually in West Africa. And it was during a time of layoffs. And so I was able to actually resign and then hire all of these people to support the projects. And I've been on my own. And so my story does evolve around, I was just so focused on my career and the goals that I had for me professionally. And no one told me that you need to have some personal goals too. In terms of, starting a family, not starting a family, etc. And I just didn't know that. So I did not plan for that, which is probably the only thing in my life that I have not planned for, because I'm very much a strategic planner and I want to lay, the path out, the journey, the risk mitigation, the cost, and all of that. And so that's just a little bit about my background there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I was fascinated by your doctoral degree because it seems to orbit around engineering, but more, you're not an engineer per se, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what you do, what your thesis was on machine learning and artificial intelligence, and so that's a fascinating because it's so relevant now and in demand, and so I just throw that out there because I think your mind, the way it works, I think, and then what brought, and Junia, the way it's coming together, I couldn't help but think of the metaphor of engineering, that this is a kind of reconfiguration of nomenclature and how we identify ourselves. So it's a little cheesy to say that, but or maybe the segue's cheesy, but I was researching you and I thought, oh wow, this is a brilliant mind that came up with a brilliant idea. Again, born of the hybridization of selfishness and selflessness, but just that. Right, but that your mind thinks a certain way, and you're like, out of the box. Let's do something novel and that's untested. Or I want to talk about the history of what behind before you, if there is any history at all. But yeah, just what you did is groundbreaking, I guess. Is a nice, humble way to say it.
Yeah, and I do have a doctorate. So I actually have 4 degrees, earned degrees, and someone was talking to me about it probably like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, wow, all 4 are either engineering or business. So in undergrad, I got a bachelor's in business. So I got a BBA with a concentration in marketing. And then it was a dual degree between Emory and Georgia Tech. And so it was a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering. And I was the first to graduate from the Emory, because what a business school in this dual degree program. There were rumors that someone had graduated from the liberal arts school, but no one knew who that was and when that was, etc. And then I went on to get my MBA from the Harvard Business School, which I worked for Booz Allen Hamilton, the commercial side of Booz Allen Hamilton in their healthcare practice.
Okay.
And it was up or out. So you had 2 years, and either you had to leave and go up to get an MBA, or you were terminated, or you had to leave. So that was there was not a choice. 95% of the people must get an MBA to even progress. And then later during COVID, I decided to get my doctorate. And quite honestly, I decided to get my doctorate because we went after, my company, the Lead and Niche, went after a contract with one of the public health agencies. And we were in the top 3, even going up against some large companies. And we were not selected. And someone, a little birdie, told me that, who was connected after all of the decisions were made, that I was the only CEO that did not have a PhD or a doctorate, because that was very much appreciated. And I just got to a point where I thought, I'm an employer. My job is to, for my employees, to help them to pay their mortgages and have a way of life, and to miss out on an opportunity because of a degree. I said I would never let that happen again. So then, and although COVID was, a travesty on many dimensions, I was on the road 99% of the time. So I was able to, after the work day and on the weekends, so at night and on the weekends, really focus on this degree, which I would have not had that opportunity because I was always on the road, and it was just impossible to study. It was hard. All of my degrees were hard. But it was hard. It required a lot of dedication. And my research was looking at the predictive nature of federal contracts, because that's what my company does, and whether or not you can predict performance issues. Okay. And you can. There are definitely models that would definitely predict it, like random forest, etc. So that was why I got that. And no, I did not technically become an engineer because my senior year in undergrad, which that was when I realized why they wait until your senior year. They took us to a plant, and of course the sulfur smelled like rotten eggs. And I was like, I can't live like this every day. I can't go and smell this. And I didn't feel that my career trajectory would be such that I wanted. So I then went home that night and thought about all the different careers that I could, and the career paths that I could go down. And I said consultant for two reasons. Number one, I wanted to sit in the boardroom with senior executives to determine how they make decisions, because, you know, they're running the world. So how do they make decisions? And I wanted to go to a company that would pay for me to get my MBA, because I knew I wanted to get an MBA. And so that's how I made my decision. And it was tough. 20-hour days can be tough, you know, on the body, and mental, and all of that. So that's why it was that field trip where I decided, you know what? I think I want to apply the technical, the scientific, and the strategic and the business in more of a corporate setting than a plant setting.
Okay. It's funny how these little things will shift our trajectory around, right? Little prods, right? And here you are. So that's great. That's awesome.
And I say like in life, we have many collisions. It could be with people, like the interactions that we're having and how we're developing and sharpening our skill sets and our thinking. Or it could be an event, a place, seeing a leaf fall in a particular way. And so that was a mini collision going there. And it totally, that night, I made the determination that could not be my life. And I'm thankful for those that could, but it wasn't, you know, for me. It was more of a corporate setting. That was for me.
Yeah. So in what you've been telling me and the audience, work, and not so much Tamara time and family time. So, that's so classic in American hustle culture and what we all do. I'm slowing down. I used to own a few businesses, and I called it chronic self-employment. I think you said, what is this, entrepreneurship? I just called it chronic self-employment. Yeah. My wife and I owned a restaurant, a newsstand, and 2 landscapers in 20 something years. So yeah, but they were all kind of smaller scale. They were, you know, nothing spectacular, but nonetheless, I know what you're saying about those long, especially the restaurant. Oh my goodness, we were 6 days a week open and 1 day off, and that day was not a day off. Yeah,
and what cuisine was it?
Just real basic. We were in we live in a fairly small town on the east coast of Florida, and so it was breakfast and lunch, and we just kept it very basic, as healthy as we can, but we kept some classic things in there too, because you know, it's just what the locals prefer. And we would alter the menu by suggestions, and if, you know, can you do this? Can you do that? And we would listen and stuff like that. So yeah, we did that for about 4 years and then sold it right before the downturn in 2008.
Perfect timing.
Good timing. Yeah, we got out. Yeah. So, but yes, so here you are, you're working, and you to sort of move in the direction of the Junia story. What were you feeling? What call were you feeling to maybe round out your life or add to your life?
Yeah, so I have been married to my husband for 12 years, and we've been together for 14. And just another collision. I had known him 2 years prior, but this particular day, he was a turnaround guy at an AT&T store. And this particular day, I went in and he helped with my issue there. And then I'm down this path of being in a committed relationship and being married. And he was very patient and very supportive of my career. And we had talked about, you know, he really wanted to have children and have family, and I did too. But again, I was just naively thinking that I had all the time in the world to do that. Like, I'm fine, you know, I'm healthy, I'm fine, I'm happy. I felt I had the perfect body to have children. And then when we finally decided to do that, we went through multiple cycles of IVF, both in New York and in Virginia when we moved to Virginia. And while I would produce a lot of eggs, once we tried to make embryos, none of them were viable. And it is a very emotional time, because it's when the world really kind of sunk in, and I'm like, wow, this is not how I planned it. This is devastating for me. And it was that. I think there were 2 moments in my life. One was when my mother passed away, and I'm like, what is going on? My grandmothers lived to be almost 100, and here my mother is in her, you know, mid to late 60s. So that was one moment. And then the moment when I realized that if we were to have children, they were not going to have my genetics. And, we tried and tried and tried, and it just did not happen. And I later, through conversations, which is why it's so important that platforms like this talk about this and bring this up, and we talk about it, not only women, but men too, to support, women, that I actually have friends whom I talk to quite often that froze their eggs. Nobody told me. And I would have done it even if I would have had to eat ramen noodles for years to pay for it, because it is not cheap. There are companies that will pay for it. I mean, in full disclosure, my husband got a second job at Amazon that had, I don't know if they still do, but at the time had great benefits. And there are a lot of people who take on that second job at Amazon to just get those benefits. It is a very full coverage. And then there are all these Facebook groups that you can join where they have some that will tell you all the companies and what they cover and all of that. And so I would have done that, but I didn't. And so I just had to face the reality that while there are different paths to motherhood, my path would not include my DNA. And I mean, I am known among my friends and my family of always being the optimistic person, but that was a moment of, I didn't want to be optimistic. Like, I wanted to pout and cry and feel sorry for myself, just for not knowing. And it was also the time that I realized, like, how life is just fleeting and it's finite. And at least, we all have different beliefs, but I believe you have this one life and you got to make your mark and you got to do your best while you're here. And I can't reverse it. I can't do it again,
Okay. Yeah.
So, that's what I had to do. And so I had to go through a lot of therapy and journaling and just trying to get to the other side, back to my happiness. And I'm sure, if you've done a lot of great research, thank you that you've heard that I said, I just had to come to the realization, I believe in God and we all have our own beliefs, that just wasn't my path. My path was, something different, and that my parents gave me more than DNA, but they taught me how to be a good person and instilled all of these values in me that are important that I then can transfer to my children when we have them. And so we do have embryos, and we're about to start that journey, which is, we started before. And even that, so our journey includes not only the egg donor, the donor egg, but it also includes a surrogate, because I just turned 50, and I'm kind of at an age where I'm like, with all of the complications that are going on, do I want that? And, we kind of have some new efforts and projects going on. So we're going to do both. And there's nothing to cover the surrogacy. So it's like saving to take care of that. But we're about to start that family. We'll make great parents, but it is something that many of my professional female colleagues, some of them are in relationships, some of them are not. They're starting families however they want to. That's the good thing about technology these days and adoption. And, there are different paths to parenthood. Yeah. So that's encouraging. But I got to a point where I accepted the fact that my children would not hold my DNA. But, and I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I come from a family where I have adopted cousins, but you can't tell me they're not my relatives. However family is, that's how our family,
right.
It's defined. But I still wanted something tangible. I still was like, my gosh, like when I leave, I've left legacy in all kinds of communities. I consider myself a philanthropist. For my company, we donate 10% of our net profits to communities in which we live and serve and work. So I've done just so much, but what do I have for my personal legacy? And I thought, okay, well, why don't I just name my daughter after me, And then I thought, okay, well, how does that happen? And I did research, and there literally was nothing. I mean, you can name your daughter after you, but there is no suffix like it is with Junior. And so I thought, again, here's a gap. Here's an opportunity. I'll just create something. So I did a lot of research and came up with Junia because, I think when you're trying to develop or start something like this, which is a huge movement, it's something that has never been done before, there's this shock factor that you got to be careful of in terms of acceptance. And so I didn't want it to be something totally different where people couldn't get the junior and Junia. So I was very blessed to come up with that. And I got the Junia from the Bible, Romans 16:7. There was an apostle Junia. She's only mentioned once. But even in that short description of her, she left such a legacy. And I thought, wow, this is an honor to name it after her. So when you name your daughter, Junia, it can be Junia or JN, either way. And I did. We talked about selfish versus selfless. I was like, this is just something for me. But then the more that I talked to people about it, they were like, oh my gosh, this should be formalized. Why don't we have something like this? And so call it peer pressure or support. Not sure which one, but we're now down.
Or both.
Or both. We're now down this path, and oh gosh, we've done a lot where if you go to our website, junialegacy.com, you'll see a declaration of rights. You'll see a certificate. So once you name your daughter, you can have an official certificate. We have a sample naming ceremony. It should be very personalized because it is something that's so delicate and so special for that family, that mother, that daughter, that mother-like figure, that daughter, that we wanted to give people something that they can just create their own. You don't have to have an official officiant that, has some certificate from the court or the county.
Right. It
could be anybody. It could be your grandmother, your best friend. It could be whomever you want it to be, and design it how you want. We also have made, so I have met with a couple of people, and to go down the congressional route is expensive in terms of lobbying and stuff like that. So we started, we're partnering with a nonprofit called AOE, which I'm affiliated with as well, so that people can have a tax deduction. And those funds are just for the Junior Legacy Fund. And we started that actually yesterday. And within 24 hours, we already got our 4-figure donation, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Out of Kentucky. So thanks to Leah for that. And we see some more coming. And then we also started a petition with change.org to get support. So we've gotten support in 24 hours as well. And that will only grow as we go. So step by step, we are moving down this path to make it formal. They're also, based on my research, there are about 30,000 daughters who are named after their mothers in the U.S. And so we are in the process of getting Junia legacy medallions, neck medallions made, so we can do an official presentation to those, I guess those that paved the way before this was done. So we have a lot of going. We applied to make a official Junia National Day. So we hope to hear back from that over the next month or so. So we have a lot of activities that are just garnering support and efforts, so that once we do go down the congressional route, we'll have what we need that will hopefully convince people to co-sponsor this to get it official.
Right. Now that has me thinking, if we're going for a driver's license with the Junia or the JN and the suffix on the license itself, if we go to the National Congress, for the nation and get something reified there, will that help streamline and make more efficient the ability for all 50 states to get on board with any woman who wants that on their driver license? Is that going to smooth that process a little bit?
Yes, and that's the thought. So even now, you can name your daughter a Junia. Even on the birth certificate, you can do that.
Oh, okay.
The issue because you can just go, and tell them that, Junia. The issue will be when you go for vital statistics, where it's not there, where you have pre-populated suffixes. Now, there are some where you can type it in or add it, and you can do that. But, we got to make sure that it's there formally and officially with vital statistics, passport services, Social Security. Like you said, a lot of the state and local DMV offices. So that's why it has to be formal. But informally, it can be. You could just run up against some issues once you then register with some of the governmental agencies. Okay.
Now, I want to go retro for a minute. And you said that when you initially went on and was doing, I assume, Google searches or checking the good old interwebs for a history of this or for any kind of lineage to look back onto. You said you didn't really find much, and I'm wondering, have there been matriarchal cultures historically where naming process or ritual is at all leaning into the matriarch or the mother or the grandmother or anything like that? Is there any evidence or any thing in the canon of our cultural naming process?
Yes, and I don't want to misspeak.
I
don't want to misspeak.
Okay.
And if I say the wrong thing, please, by all means, reach out to me and let Junia@JuniaLegacy.com. But based on my research, it has been primarily, I would say, in Hispanic culture and Caribbean culture.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been, and they would the daughter would be named after the mother. And in fact, I actually have a friend of mine, they're 4 generations of naming the daughters after the mothers.
Okay.
But it's not an official Junia, but in our books, they would be considered a Junia legacy, if you will.
Okay.
But yes, there are in some cultures that very much is a part of naming a daughter after your mother.
Okay. So that's an easy sell to a culture that's comfortable with that.
Correct.
To get that kind of, it's not like you need the support, but it would be nice to have this familiarity and the ability to share what it means culturally and what it means historically from mother to daughter to granddaughter, et cetera. And so
I'm writing that down. Thank you for that, Justin. I'm writing that down because while I've done the research, you're right in terms of getting that support from those communities would be amazing.
Yeah. No, I think that would just be another member of your team, to keep you going and keep the momentum going. Where do I'm trying to think of where I want to go because we went into the past and now, I had a question. This I think of random things. So, with the Junia, if the third filial, okay, so there was mom who set the legacy up, named the daughter now has the Junia name. When that daughter is of age to start her family so with men, it's like John Smith the third, so what's the
same thing.
How's it just, okay. So it just continues, but is there a need for the third or does Junia perpetuate? Does it stay?
In my mind, when I thought of this, it was the Junia and the junior are the same. And then they go from the third and the fourth. So there's the only difference would be the Junia and the junior. That's it.
Okay.
They are, in my mind, just equivalent.
I get that. Yeah. Okay, good.
That was the first time I got that question, but I did think about that and all that. We're not going to have, I don't know, rather than the third, have something else. I don't know, alphabet or something. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Junior squared or something like that. There was a Robin Williams skit years and years and years ago, and he did a thing when he was talking about the Rat Pack and some of the guys like Joey Bishop and Frank Sinatra, and he was talking about Sammy Davis Jr. and he goes something about Sammy Davis Jr. having a son, and he goes, Sammy Davis Jr. Like, what do you name Sammy Davis? His name is Sammy Davis Jr. And what do you name the child? Sammy Davis Jr. I can't do Robin Williams, but how manic he was, and so so I laughed. But that just got me thinking, that you can just go right into third and fourth,
right?
Like that.
Exactly.
So now I read that there was in Times Square a billboard. Or a scroll or something. So share that with us if you don't mind. And can you track traffic to your website? And did you see a response to that? And get feedback from being in Times Square?
We actually did. So my IT developer is working now because we got to add like pixels because we're going to do some digital marketing strategy, etc. So we did see that. But about a few weeks ago, we were in Times Square. So it started with a photo video shoot that we actually had at the house where I had 9 Junia models, both 9 mother models and 9 baby models. And it was amazing. I wanted it to be diverse. Every spectrum was covered. And I was so blessed that we even had a mother and a daughter where the daughter had autism, because I wanted to make sure that we showed differences.
Yeah.
And it was also amazing because this was the debut for a lot of the babies in terms of the model going into the modeling career. So we had an official casting call, and I was interviewed. So you'll see that on YouTube and our website.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we wanted to take it to the big stage in Times Square. So we had 2 billboards that ran all day. Each billboard ran a little short 15-second clip 88 times. So, on both, that was 176 times on that day. And we did. I got a lot of emails. Because they went to the site and pulled up the QR code, etc. And we got a lot of folks to sign up in terms of volunteering to help. Once we decide to add different states, because part of the congressional journey is, you have to kind of walk the hill, have conversations. But I'm in Virginia. It's very hard for me to go and try to have a conversation with the senators or representatives from another state without having a constituent there. And so we have people that have signed up to say, okay, when you're ready for Alabama, I want to come help. When you're ready for Rhode Island, I want to come help. And then we will, work with them, fly them in, and go have those conversations to kind of get that support. And then that's when the aides will talk to us. And so it was very helpful. I feel like it took us to the national stage, the national level. And then it also got, you have to continuously have these campaigns and have different ways to kind of put the word out there and to continuously talk about the movement. But every time we have something or every time we do something, we do see an uptick in people that says, oh my God, this is amazing. We want to support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so awesome. And, I did watch the video with the moms and their daughters. And, I got to thinking just now when we were talking, wouldn't it be fun in 12 years to have the daughters talk? Because then they'll, at sort of that tweener adolescent phase, they know if that's the path they want to choose to become a mother, that they can speak a little bit to the idea, and then maybe again in 12 years. But anyway, I always think of weird stuff like
Look,
that.
I'm writing down all these good ideas. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Hey, listen, if I can chip in any way other than making this conversation for us, absolutely. And the other thought that I had that I thought was, and it's not so much a suggestion, but it's a thought about the historical nature of this, and you are the progenitor of this, and you are the person who birthed this into being, is that the ceremony that comes with the legacy process and the naming process, that child will have access to that ceremony by way of video. And you and I were close in age, and so there's photos, and maybe somebody had Super 8 back in the 70s or whatever. But now, with everything we have, with all the capture that we have, how awesome is that in 22 years or 24 years, that baby in the videos that are going to be created over the next few years will have access to the video, show it to their daughter, should they choose that as their path, and then just on to generation after generation after generation. Whereas folks like ourselves, just maybe, so for my mother's generation, black and white photos, a few of them, right? So this, and this ties into another more obscure, bizarre thought, and I think very strange things, is like people now who are young, 100 years ago, film was just on the precipice of getting sound. And whereas, again, I'm 50, I'll be 56 in a couple months. So when I was young and a kid, 1870s, 1880s, there was nothing. And so I just think it's fascinating that as time moves forward, that when you go back a century, that film, right now it's, 1925 would be silent film, but in a couple of years it'll be the advent of sound for film. It's a random tangent, I know, but it's just like it ties back in to this idea that the child of 2060 or that's becoming a grandmother, or 2075 that's becoming a grandmother with this Junia legacy, it will be so rich and so fulfilling to see the highlights, the film and the video that was captured for that ceremony. So long tangent. But
I've written that down too, because you're right. There could be a collection of these video stories and compilations that we can collect over the years. And then you're right. As you think about like generational archiving, etc., it would be very important. And as you were talking, I was thinking, now, wouldn't this be, they don't have these type of ceremonies for juniors. So like maybe it becomes so great for juniors that people are like, you know what, we should do the same thing for a junior. Cause that's exciting as well. So
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Cause we don't do it. And I think we're at a time in life, and like I said, life is so fleeting that you want these moments. Like I just celebrated my birthday with 24 of my closest family and friends, and we go, even now, you know, I still look at the videos and you know, smile and even when I got married, you know, I go back and look at the videos. We need to do that to kind of remember why we're doing it and what we're doing. And it's so amazing because who knew that my mother was going to pass away, and I have the videos of her and I can hear her and I can see her, and it's just amazing. So for Junia to then be a path to that too, because like at some point we're all going to pass away, and seeing that mother in that ceremony and the grandmother and, you know, etc. would be amazing, I think. So thank you for that. I've written that down too.
Okay. Well, I just, you know, it's this just is so dimensional. It opens up so much. In fact, this conversation right now, in 30 or 40 years, if YouTube's still around or if this is archived somewhere else, that this conversation will have that kind of potency. It's for, again, what you're doing and what you've done is going to impact lives, because you could be named Susan or Eloise or, you know, any name. And that's awesome. That's your name. Like my name, I carry it, but you know, mine is not it's not a continuance of someone else necessarily. So that this is this connection that's created through the symbolism of naming. That's potent. That's powerful. And I think that and so I'm drawing some of this from having known juniors over the last 50 years. And most of them are proud of that. Most of them carry that. Some people are ambivalent. They're like, I'm Tom Jr. or whatever, you know. But really, I mean, some of them are just like, this is my father's name and I'm carrying it forward, you know, and I'm going to name my son, you know, Tom the Third.
Yeah.
So you're setting up something.
Honor.
Yeah. You're
and
setting
we should have the same thing for women and females. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And that's a gender parity, I think, too. You know, it's like, it's not a hard ask of anybody to allow this to be, and it's not even allowing, it's just maybe accepting that this is part of our cultural norm now, and this is part of how we will comport ourselves as citizens in at least our part of the world. You know, United States and Europe, and if other countries follow suit in Asia or wherever, that's great. But yeah, I just that's what caught me when I think we connected was that this is a moment, you know.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
and I just love that. I just absolutely love that. Now, I know you have to move on and do something else in a little bit. So for the next 10, I want to get you off about 10 minutes before you have your next obligation.
Okay.
But so let's say we have about 10 to 12 minutes left, and we'll bring this conversation in. What can we cover? What would you like to let the audience know, or future viewers who may just be fascinated by how this all began? And I'm not trying to lead in with that necessarily, but what would you like to cover in 10 to 12 minutes? Because it's not a lot of time that we can enrich this conversation with. Yeah,
I mean, you've asked a lot of good questions and we've covered a lot of good ground. I think the biggest thing is that for us to know that it isn't just for females and for women, it's for men who support their wives and their future daughters, if you will. You know, you'll listen to this podcast, you'll listen to this conversation, and your partner or your wife might not. You suggest that why not, if you have a daughter, name them a Junia. You already have a junior, or you're planning on having a junior. So suggest. And so that's the one thing. I think that this is a movement for all. And I think that women need the support of others. They need the support of their family and their friends in terms of, you know, this balance between career, professional, and personal, and opening up the discussion. So to the girlfriends and the guy friends of your female, you know, just have the conversation, because maybe they're so focused on their career, they're not even thinking about it now. So let's first talk about that. Like, think about what life has, what your dreams are. Maybe you don't want to be a mother. Maybe you do. Maybe you'll meet someone. Maybe you won't.
Yeah.
That's number one. But number two, a lot of times I have conversations and I think that it's just a discussion or a topic for women, but it's for women and their supporters, whoever they are. And it doesn't have to be the female that comes up with the idea. It could be males too, husbands too, partners too, that suggest and say, let's do that and be supportive of that. My husband, I'm so thankful for him. It wasn't even a second thought. He was like, why not? Even at my birthday, he talked about Junia and the great work. And he said some of the things that I say. For years, we've had Junior. So why not the equivalent for females with Junia? And I'm very appreciative about that because it makes it easier. If we didn't agree on that, or if he was kind of giving me some issue with that, this movement and what we're doing here would be a lot harder. So his support means the world to me. And so that's the one message that I want to send to all it's a movement for everyone.
Yeah. Like I said, I tried to think about how could this be the least bit controversial or the only thing I can come up with, and it just popped in my head a minute ago. And this happens with juniors. It could have been happening for 50 to 100 years is if someone has twins, who gets the junior? And is there going to be a squabble at 10 years old? Why did he get the junior and I didn't? Other than that, and that's universal. It has nothing to do.
I don't know. What do they do that now? Wouldn't that be a boy girl? You have junior. That'd be pretty neat.
Fraternal twins.
Yeah. So
that's wild.
If that happened, I would love whoever the first to do that. Please, reach out to me. That would be amazing.
My gosh, that's clever. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Okay. I thought your screen froze for a second there.
Yeah, no, that would be amazing. I haven't thought about that. Oh, I got to write that down too.
Yeah, you got to get your first example of that. So there'll be an instance, I'm sure. Think of how many babies are born every.
Yeah, there absolutely would be. And I think for me, there are different scenarios, right? And you've listed stuff like, what about this case? What about that? For me, I want Junia to be simple.
Yeah.
I didn't, like I said, it's not like the third and the fourth, and then we have A, B, C, D for Junia. I wanted it to be, or like you said, squared or, cubed or what have you. I want it to be simple. So the same situation if two boys were born and you got to figure out who's the junior. The same if you have two girls. I don't think that it's going to be any different, nor should it be any different. It's just a thought. And I don't even know how that has worked in the past when there were two boys.
I know, right? Maybe if I get a comment, I'll pass it on to you on the show.
Please.
Yeah.
I wanted to be simple. I feel like life already has so many complications.
Yeah.
So let's not invite any more complications. Let's just keep it simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to say one thing, and I hope I'm not stepping out of my bounds here by saying this, but I'm in the same boat as you. I did not have children. So I have no genetic heirs. I have no one. My wife and I don't have anyone that we passed our genes on. But what I want to maybe mention is that what you're creating, what you're doing, is to me as or more powerful. So there's the meme. There's the idea of the meme, and people like Richard Dawkins talk about it. It's the memetics versus genetics. What you've done is you've created a memetic lineage here. And the meme is often stereotyped as something you see on TikTok, Instagram or whatever, the funny dog or the what.
Yeah.
But really the meme is actually equal to a genetic thing, but it's a thought gene. It's an idea that is carried around by people, passed from person to person. So I would frame it that way and say that you are creating a memetic legacy here, in a sense, that you will pass from this world, as we all will, and this will carry on. And it's not about vainglory or ego or anything like that, but it's that you've contributed to society and that you've done one thing for the betterment of others. And it's an emotional betterment. It's a bonding relationship betterment, just like with the junior. So anyway, I wanted to say that because, like I said, we're in the same boat. So I don't think I'm overstepping by saying, we leave our legacy in different ways. And you've done it multiple ways already, but with the junior, I think that's such a blessing for the world. So I'll stop with that. And if you want to do Oh, of course. Well, I mean it. Yeah, I just think it's anything we can do for our fellow people
Yeah,
to elevate and to help people feel better about who they are, because identity is very important.
so
You know,
important.
and to have that connection, I think is rich, and
Right.
it's awesome. So, all right, if you have a last thought or a parting statement, and then we'll say goodbye to the audience, and then I'll say goodbye to you after we're done recording.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just want to thank everyone for listening and for being a part of this. I want to thank you for having me on here. And yeah, this mimetic legacy is there's nothing else to be said. I think that's like the best ending.
Okay, we'll close with that then.
And
Okay.
I am going to borrow that and take that in the future.
By
for
all means,
future discussion.
absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
My little bit that I can contribute to the Junia project.
No, look, can you like? Oh, where is it? Oh, I have a whole list
Oh.
of things. Look at that.
Oh,
From
good,
the
good, good.
discussion.
Well, then I'm blessed for being able
Yes.
to participate and being able to help. So I appreciate
you.
it, being a helpful person. So.
Yes, thanks.
All right, Dr. Nall, I'll say goodbye to you after we stop record. But to the YouTube
Okay.
audience, I hope this was a wonderful and enriching conversation, inspiring conversation. So, and I'll see you all on the next one. So take care in the meantime.
Thanks, everyone.